Hey everybody, I'm back, and not only back, but I've got another episode ready. So we're going to start off with Animal Man and Man Bat. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm a 30-year plus comic book industry veteran, longtime fanboy, forever a fanboy, and I like comics. So, obviously, Michael Kaluta, who he's one of those guys who shows up where you don't really know when he's going to show up, but when he does, it's always a home run. Did this cover of Animal Man and Man Bat, and it was a great idea putting them both in this issue because you got Man Animal and Batman. So I know, silly, but whoa, how about this, baby? Kevin Nolan. And the story's by Jan Strnad, art by Kevin Nolan, meaning the story by Jan Strnad, who is, I'm saying his name wrong probably. He did Sword of the Atom, which was a fantastic Strnad Gil Kane miniseries of the Atom, who got stuck at a anyway, it's good. Check it out. Man, I tell you what, I love Kevin Nolan. His stuff's just so amazing. He can do no wrong. Look how dark that is with the Zipatone, but you can still sort of make out what's going on. And it really simulates what would happen in a darkened room. And man, all those poses. It's like nobody else drew like this before. A lot of people have borrowed from it since. I love that hair. I love how simple it is. I'd love to play around with that kind of stuff, but pencilers like to be traced. They don't want to be yanked. Doop. So the way it goes. So amazing. So amazing. It's like when you see something like by Kevin Nolan, you almost feel shamed, like he's talent shamed you. Oh man, come on. There we go. And also, the way he does faces is so masterful. You see no construction lines inked around her mouth or her nose or her brow, just as you don't see them here much. It's very, when it comes to that at least, Kevin McGuire is another guy who can do faces like that without having to do all the rendering around them. And it's good printing. I mean, it's just regular paper, but it's just well done. Come on, focus, baby, focus. Focus for Papa. Well, if that ain't the case, I'm just going to drop you like a bad habit. Come on. Well, it's a very good book. Take my word for it. That hair of hers, that expression, her mouth, and like the chin and the bow over her lip that's being implied next to the rock hard solid imagery of Batman's face. And here's the end issue where he's in the Batcave, and guess who's hanging out above? The end. So part 2 now is Animal Man, who Grant Morrison and Chaz Truog made a fan favorite, and a lot of it also had to do with Cliff Biggers. He was doing a weekly free newspaper called Comic Shop News that would tell you what was coming out, but he also had interviews and recommendations. And I saw the Brian Bolland cover for the first issue of Animal Man, and it was pretty cool. But when I read Cliff's review, I was like, well, I'll check it out, and I dug it, and I bought it. I loved the series. It lasted a long time too. Grant Morrison did the first 26 issues plus this. Tom Grummett is not the regular penciler, but he's magnificent. Him and Doug Hazelwood, they're a great team. This takes place between a couple issues of Animal Man, where there was this meta-human bomb that went off during a mini-series called Invasion around 1990. So his powers are all out of sort. But let me find some other stuff going on. And part of it has to do, he supposedly had a regular This recounts like the origin story Splash, which it looks a lot like Infantino pose. And then later on, we learned that part of his DNA that was affected was because of these aliens. Not just some explosion from a alien ship. And these guys show up later. Actually, I don't know. Aside from the series of Animal Man, the Morrison issues, they showed up in the book called 52. It was the first weekly DC book that had 52 issues, and I did like every 5 issues with Pat Olaf, and it was so much fun. And these guys showed up again. And what was great about the miniseries was that it was all B, C, and D listers, which was great. And Animal Man was in there, and he hadn't been in the spotlight in a while. And but other people too. That good stuff. So you're probably saying, like, taking up all my time, Drew. Doomsday +1. I have the reprints with the Gil King covers, but I also buy the originals. This was like in $1 box, and it's John Byrne's second job after Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch. If I haven't mentioned Wheelie, if I haven't reviewed Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch yet, please let me know in the comments below, and I will, because it's pretty wild. Because he did that, went right to this 6-issue series. He did some of those ROG 2000 backup strips in E-Man, and then he went straight to Marvel, did a backup story in I think Giant Size Dracula 5 something, I don't know. So this follows the image of Planet of the Apes with Lady Liberty being knocked down, and then Kirby used it for Commandy. Then now Doomsday +1, and I love that logo too. And the colors are great. And right away, you kind of see that Byrne knows who he is. He knows what he's doing, and it's even a little different. If this was 1975 and you were getting Marvel, DC, and stuff, you'd probably be like, "Oh, this is so crude, and amateurish." But it's not. It holds up. And what I like is it's on the cheap paper, and it makes things a little more for a new guy who, when they published this in the reprint, it was on shiny paper. It looked kind of cheap, but to see it, bleed a tiny bit with like the O-ring and stuff, it really, really makes it nice. Like right there too. So you had this, the old mutual destruction between the two superpowers, and kablooey. There goes everybody. And the faces are pretty interesting too. Like this is very unusual for him, because a lot of times he'll do a face that's like 3/4, and he'll have these big fish eyes that are sort of manga influenced, but you don't see much in this issue. But it's solid reading, solid art. Dig that zipatone there above that woolly mammoth. Beautiful. And this panel here has a bit of a Neil Adams kind of influence. And early on, even later when Byrne did the X-Men The Hidden Years, and he had Tom Palmer inking, he went for Neil Adams' feel. So what if John Byrne jumped ship to make a living because Charlton rates were abominable? So now we get the credits for whatever reason. George Wildman is the editor, Joe Gill, John Byrne. Joe Gill, he was tied with Robert Kanigher, or close to being the most prolific comic book writer, and just recently Chuck Dixon surpassed him by having the most comic books written, and it's kind of interesting. So the ice breaks, and here comes this old barbarian who was maybe a Visigoth or something like that. He was trapped in the ice, and there's the usual mix up. I mean, how do you pal up to Charlton Bullseye, man? Got all these look at all these books coming out from Charlton. The Great Gazoo, I didn't know he had his own book. And I may have said this, but Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch was Byrne's first work, and I can't recall if I've ever reviewed it or showed it on my channel, but if I haven't, let me know, and I'll do so. But yeah, that storytelling is really strong. That's just so. There's another pose in here that's very classic Byrne. Oh, it continues, but I gotta find that one. Hang in, everybody. Yeah, that was a big thing for a long time. The old fingers in the air. So good stuff. Got in the dollar bin. Now we're going to Marvel 101. Doing comics the Marvel way, the hardcore way, the superhero way. I've mentioned before that Spectacular Spider-Man, starting with issue 137, I think, Jerry Conway came back, Sal Buscema came back, and it was really, really great. It really felt like a 70s comic, but in the best possible way, because you had these guys every month, and then later on you had Alex Saviuk. No, he did Web of Spider-Man, sorry. But it's just fun. It's just so much fun. What is going on? Oh, that's one of my dogs drinking. He's going slurp, slurp. So, Spider-Man, a few issues earlier, back in 150 or so, he sort of formed this loose group featuring the Rocket Racer, the Reformed Sandman, the Frenemy Puma, and Hobie Brown, who is the Prowler. Great character, never used enough. And you got Spider-Man, and you got Sal inking himself, and the webbing is different. It's kind of neat. It's a little more like going back to Ditko. But yet he's using the big McFarlane eyes. So, Sal's flexible. He knew what would sell. He knew how best to keep himself in work, because comics are so fickle. Have I told you that I really hate Cersei as an Avenger? I'm sure. I mean, she's got her fans and stuff like that, and I like her personality, but she's just too powerful. She can turn guys into like pigs and transmute other things, and that's just too powerful. Quasar is also similarly a little too powerful. Well, here comes Spider-Man, knocks the crap out of Cap there, and the teammates don't know that that's what they were in for. That's why they were following the Avengers. So, come on. Let me get in real quick. When I need a reason to clock some goon in a flag suit, where's your patriotism? Haven't you guys heard it's a crime to desecrate Old Glory? In some states, they give you a medal. What do you think? Did I impress them or what? By the way, then it's your turn. Oh, no. And what happens is, it turns out to be the Space Phantom from Avengers number 2 and some issues later of the Avengers and Rom Space Knight. But it's a great mix-up. It's a bit one-sided, but with the real Spider-Man, it helps a lot. Space Phantom's just so cool. So the fight goes a little shorter than I would have liked. There's all kinds of nifty stuff. Ever so nifty. Classic Thor. So all kinds of stuff going on. Really, really enjoyable. I really recommend that. If you're like me and you caught up on all the cool Silver Age, Bronze Age mainstream characters like Thor and Spider-Man and Captain America, and this will, it's just like it stepped out of the 70s, and in a good way, in one of the better books, and the 80s. There were a lot of good books in the 80s as well. So now we go leaping into 1996. The previous episode, that was 1990. And let me see. Now, The Rampaging Hulk, this came out in 1996, I think. And Marvel was doing these cool fold-outs for the new reader, but they had to be expensive to make. I was trying to find what year this came out. But the problem was, by the way, Glenn Greenberg, he went on to write several Beatles biographies or stories of the Beatles that are well regarded, not trash. And Rick Leonardi is great at everything. Dan Green, excellent inker. This was when I I can't believe Richard Starkings and Comic Craft came along. And I hate this. It competes with that imagery. It almost looks like he's got a signpost next to him. There's some X-Men covers that are like that too, and that bottom image is so cool. And Leonardi, he designed the Spider-Man 2099 costume, which was great stuff. This, the only thing that's odd about it is it takes place in the mid-70s when Glenn Ross and Glenn Talbot and Betsy Ross became married, their husband and wife. So you have these purple overalls because back then, I guess it's being totally true to the era, he always had purple pants. And the reason he always had purple pants, and it drove me nuts because I was just kind of like, who walks around in the 70s, maybe early 70s, if you're trying to be funky. But they did that because the color was it was a model sheet, sort of. It's like if you're going to do a 7-Eleven Slurpee cup, if you're going to do stickers, if you're going to do just all kinds of stuff, wall hangings, and that, it had to be purple pants and green skin, and it never deviated because that's just how the merchandise was. They wanted to keep it looking the same. So beautiful art here. Color hold. That's funny. I love the musculature of the weakened Hulk there. And you got some green color holds where Banner's fighting the Hulk. And here's the problem. It only lasted 6 issues, which is insane. But I have a reason why. Yes, I do. Let's see. Where's the... I'm trying to see if the indicia... I'm trying to find out where that is. Okay, here we go. It is from 1998. Okay, here's the problem. You had Heroes Reborn, which pretty much put the brakes on the Marvel Universe, so the Image Boys could take over. The ones who left Marvel for creative control, but when their book stopped selling, they sold out to Marvel and went back. Oh yeah, it's creative control, right? Oh, Marvel, hey there. DC, hey there. I'm Jim Lee. I can't sell shit. Sorry, I'm being petty. But hey, I ain't lying. So, this only lasted 6 issues despite how great it is. And Captain America at the same time, I keep doing this and I shouldn't, by Mark Waid and Ron Garney, that was spectacular. But both of these books had a companion book. This was there was the regular Hulk, which was like up at 380 issues, and Captain America was up to 340 or 50 or something. And they did Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty, which was great, and this was the second book during Paging Hulk, so the Incredible Hulk. But by 1996, 1998, you had like at least 5 years more, actually, of so many people, so many tourists coming in and deciding, well, these comics are really hot. I'm going to start getting them. I'm going to buy them. Oh, wow, extra covers, blah, 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 blah. Oh, collectible. This is collectible. Everything was collectible. And a lot of people were like, oh, I'm going to put, all 5 of my kids through college with these 2 comic books, because, they're super rare. There's only 250,000 being printed. And a lot of people who just came in for the money, they really felt cheated. They felt screwed. And why wouldn't they? They were. It was just so much product out there, and it just burned a lot of people. They walked away from comics, and even comics fans who were buying comics said, okay, I'm out, I'm tapping out, because it got too expensive, and everyone got burned. And so that's why a book like this didn't stand a chance at the time. I mean, the regular Hulk was still holding on. It was recovering from Heroes Reborn and Captain America, from that also. So, and it took some doing, but Marvel eventually got on. What's weird is Bob Harris, he was the editor-in-chief at this time, and I don't know why DC stole him away, because he kind of single-handedly oversaw like the worst years of Marvel, and I don't know. Maybe it's a chummy thing. I'm getting a little too inside baseball here, but let me know what your thoughts are below. I don't mean to be so wise ass about this, but hey, I've seen all this stuff. I've experienced it. I've been a professional, and I've talked to other people from other companies, even though I'm a Marvel fan, but I worked with DC mostly, and that was the best thing, the best. So now, as promised, I posted this like 3 weeks ago, the final issue, 64-page final issue of Firestorm. As you recall, in some of my previous episodes, Firestorm started as a 5-issue series. Well, it would have gone on, but there was the DC implosion that happened in '78. I apologize if I have to keep saying this, but I always treat like every episode like it's someone's first. But you had the economy, you had the oil prices, OPEC problems, and you had paper shortages. And in 1977 and '78 were the biggest blizzards on record. To my understanding, and I lived in Pittsburgh, and I actually got off a couple of school days, and my school district never took school days off, ever. I mean, they'd put chains on the tires, and we'd be out there 20 below with the wind chill, layered and layered, and had a tiny little slit that we could see through when the bus came. And anyway, so it only lasted 5 issues. It was a 6th issue, but it didn't get printed except for in DC made this big, thick photocopy thing called Canceled Comics Cavalcade, which printed for copyright purposes the stories. And I actually had the photocopies of them too through somebody else, and it's not illegal to own them, but it was a lot of dreck. It really wasn't that, I didn't really miss anything. I really came into it with an open mind. So you got Brimstone, John Byrne design. So cool. He was from Legends, which was I think John Byrne first did Man of Steel, the 6-issue miniseries. Then he went on to Legends, and then did the Superman series. My timeline may be wrong, and also, as I said before, I don't really go into Wikipedia unless it's something I'm really confounded with that'll mess up my flow. So if you have comments to add, if you have corrections to add, or if you just if you disagree with something, that's cool too, man. I don't know everything, I know a lot of useless information, but there's always room for more regular information. So Down in Flames, that was the original Firestorm. He had more of a superhero appearance halfway through this run. He became a fire elemental. It might have been like around issue 70 or 80. Much like Alan Moore decided to make Swamp Thing an earth elemental, which was a great idea, Firestorm became the fire elemental. And what I like is there's 64 pages in this issue, and it's an even 100 where it ends. And the 64 pages, actually, there's no padding. There's a lot of story in this, and so I recommend it. I was reviewing one, like issue 97 or 98, and I couldn't get 100 until recently. So there we go. You got John Ostrander and Tom Mandrake. Now, they would team later on Spectre, the Spectre, and they did a beautiful job of it. And I think they also did Martian Manhunter, which lasted like 2 years. So they're a great team. They're great, individually or together. But there's some flashbacks from people like Alan Milgrom and Joe Brzezowski and J.J. Birch, which is funny because those are the same people. Joe Brzezowski sometimes uses the name J.J. Birch. And then Tom Grinberg, who's done a lot of stuff. He's a bit of a chameleon. He can do Mignola. He can do all kinds of stuff. So, boy, where do I start? Okay, well, Firestorm. I was going to jump. I'm going to let you know what happened. Firestorm was fighting Brimstone on Earth, and he was a creation of Darkseid. He was... bear with me a second. I apologize. There was a techno seed inside this that created Brimstone, and it came from Darkseid. So what happened was, during the fight in Legends, Firestorm tossed... he took that piece out and threw it into the sun, thinking, "Oh, that's it." But unfortunately, the piece itself, it got attracted to the sun, or the sun didn't melt it. It kind of blended with it. So you had this super powerful Brimstone who was going to threaten to take out the sun. And the problem was Firestorm can't go out all the way out there because, much like Swamp Thing, he's connected to the Earth. That part sort of was debunked when it came to Alan Moore having Swamp Thing going to other worlds when he got destroyed briefly in Gotham City, and he became one with the green. And he was basically killed, but it's like his essence flew throughout the sky and stuff. But since he's fire, maybe that's why not. So, yes, I did research, but there's still a lot to remember. Originally, Firestorm was Ron Raymond, teenage basketball kid, and Professor Stein, who was teaching at the school. Let me fill you in. I have recently experienced, or believe I have experienced, a union with Earth Spirit Maya. Fire and explosions seem to be common elements in the creation of elementals, an accident in which a nuclear reactor, which created Firestorm, was meant only to include you, Mr. Stein, or Dr. Stein. The inclusion of Ron Raymond was a mistake, and the inclusion of you, Martin Stein, in my recreation may well be a tragedy. So they're talking, how do we stop Brimstone? Well, it takes a lot of thinking, but you get a lot of good imagery at the same time. Firehawk, I love the design of her. I love it. She came along later. She wasn't Ronnie Raymond's girlfriend, Doreen. This was a different woman who showed up like 2 years into the ongoing. He's kind of... Firestorm's kind of chicken. He doesn't want to die. Which is unusual because he's kind of... This is like the first time he's been sentient on his own. So there's a lot going on here. But it's good. It's good stuff. What happened was Ron Raymond was protesting just to impress his girlfriend Doreen, and he got sucker punched, ended up in this nuclear reactor. Here we got Al Milgram right here. And two of them got merged when the reactor exploded. Real nice stuff there. And fills you in. Dr. Stein was drinking because he didn't know he was Firestorm until later on Ron Raymond showed him. So nice stuff. It was like multiplex. It's such an old corny costume, but it was pretty neat. So a lot went on over the years. Anyway, Firestorm was fighting this guy named Mikhail something or other, who was given powers from Chernobyl, which was a real thing. And look it up; it's in the 80s. And they finally figured out they were both reluctant combatants. But then the Russian and the U.S. government sent a nuclear missile to finish all of us, because why not? Well, Firestorm finally, he actually lived through it, but he had his own sentient identity individually, and it was awesome. So they're discussing how can they get to the sun to stop Brimstone if Firestorm can't get off the Earth, and he's still attached to Ron Raymond and everybody. Well, Professor Stein decides, well, when he found out that he was supposed to be the host body for Firestorm only, and now he's not at all. Now it's Mikhail, the Russian guy, and Ron Raymond, but they're both kind of suppressed by this new Firestorm person. So it's this really batshit crazy idea that they are going to the edge of. Let me see. Oh, what happens is Firestorm relinquishes the two other personalities, help create them. Mikhail returns to his family. Ron Raymond comes back to his family. And do you remember what you're going to do? I remember. I will not do it. I've just achieved my own life. I will not give it up. There isn't any choice. For the Earth to live, you must go through the plan. That's what Firehawk says. Let the Earth die. I would have purged it in any case. The power is mine. I will not sacrifice myself. So this man is the rightful heir to the power of the fire elemental. And he's kind of busting his balls. So, well, here's what happens. They are going to get a NASA, space shuttle, except it's more like a rocket, and they're going to have Firestorm kind of go as far as he can in the Earth's ionosphere before he dissipates. At the same time, Dr. Stein is going to blow himself up with a grenade. And we'll see what happens. I don't know who this guy is, some kind of shaman. But you're a wise brother, for luck is with you. Eshu has come. He's probably from several issues before. I know nothing about it. But here comes Firestorm. He's reborn. And it worked. I am Firestorm. And I am also truly Martin Stein. So it worked. It was a crazy plan. How about that? Oh my gosh. This is the kind of stuff that when Tom Mandrake got on the Spectre, which lasted 2 or 3 years, this is the kind of badassery that he brought to the Spectre. Like the best version since Aparo. He grows too. And the action is just sensational. So much going on. They're doing that like indestructible. What is it that? What do you get when you add a immovable object with indestructible force? I think that's how it goes. So more and more goes on. Look at that, and there's not a page wasted. It's 64 pages, and it goes on and on and on. Now, I'm not going to end it. I'm not going to spoil the ending because it's that good. And like I said, I was holding off. I was going to do this as a solo episode because it took so long to explain it. But I hope you think it was worth it because it was fun. So we got Firestorm, Hulk, Spectacular Spider-Man, Doomsday +1, Animal Man, and Man Bat. And good reading. Take care, everybody, and that's about it. Bye.